When I grow up, I want to be an NBA basketball player.
When I grow up, I want to be a famous soccer player.
When I grow up, I want to be a professional football player.
When I grow up, I want to be a professional cheerleader.
How many of us grew up wanting these exact same things, yet we find ourselves accepting less than we dreamed of as a child? Trauma, adversity, unfair circumstances, you name it. Totally understandable, yet, is it really? Here at I'm 1% Possible, we explore the unsung heroes, the everyday, unassuming individuals that you may have never heard of, but they all have one thing in common. When life struck them, they struck back. Boom! Interview number one. The one and only John David Gregory in the flesh.
Hi.
Beautiful.
Let's go.
All right, everybody.
How you feeling, brother?
For those who are just joining us, I'm about 2 hours in, 42, 43 miles, give or take. And just plugging along, honestly, still kind of warming up. The race doesn't start until tomorrow morning in the wee hours, and you really see how bad you want it. So I'll be crossing the first record at 100 kilometers, which is about 63 miles for America, in probably about an hour and change. But this isn't about me. This whole thing is about talking to others who have gone through adversity and to show how we overcome. And so John David Gregory is a great friend of mine. And at the very end, we're going to talk about his book that he just wrote. But a little about him. He wanted everybody to know that he did not lose his identity all at one time when he left the Navy as an EOD operator. He lost it piece by piece. So originally, he was a University of Kentucky walk-on football player. Then he ended up joining the Navy. And after his time there, he started doing elite executive protection for some pretty famous names that you've probably seen some recent Netflix documentaries on and those around in some capacity.
That's true.
So he did that for about 20 years and realized, one, as God pulled him away from that instead of living and protecting others in their dreams, he wanted to go fight his own dream, and carried a heavy past, which him and I have talked about before. But correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is the first time you're actually publicly talking about some of this stuff with others. So
I have mentioned it a couple times on some smaller scales, but not to this extent.
So I appreciate, one, the trust, the vulnerability. And the other side of that is, before I get into exactly what we're going to talk about, I think a lot of people in these elite circles, especially from the military, they're probably fighting some demons from childhood. Something told you you weren't good enough. And sometimes that's sexual abuse, physical abuse, mental, emotional. Sometimes it's all the above. But we almost build this person, I have found in my circumstance, that can protect that little kid. And so what you dealt with as a child and through some of your adulthood was sexual abuse, trauma, and you did all of that probably just by stuffing it down. Showing the world that everything was okay because you were bigger and badder and untouchable. And So you went from a locker room at University of Kentucky to war rooms, building bombs, and then to Hollywood. And as you said, some dark hotel hallways where you learned to disappear in plain sight, where strength became armor to really hide the authentic version of who you were and what you have gone through and what you have done. And now you are removing the masks, and I commend you for that. And just being
Thank you.
honest. But having success through authenticity instead of through what I would say is the way the world defines it. And so your book is called The Faceless Man, and you're blending your background in Hollywood with telling stories of your life, real, raw,
Sure.
your journey through addiction, rage, faith, loss, reinvention, and redemption, and explores what happens.
You said a key word there. Underline raw.
Raw, all capitals, bold, double underline for
Yes.
emphasis.
Bold, big letters, because I'm not going to sugarcoat it no more.
I appreciate that. You can only put so much lipstick on a pig,
Come on, man.
and eventually
Yep.
you realize, man, this thing is just ugly. And you know what? It's okay. It doesn't define who you are, what you are. It's just reality. This is what was, it's not what is.
All right.
And it doesn't have to be what will be. So, with that being said, and you and I are very much in agreement on this, most men, the way society has put us in a box, find the way that success is defined is losing who you are to fit some narrative.
Mm-hmm.
And we have now both rejected that. And that's a big reason why I started the podcast. It's taken me about 3 years to get here, because just like you, I had to figure out, how do I share this? How am I authentic? And before I can do this with the world, I need to be honest with myself and really face the man in the mirror and be okay with that guy before I then, and in no way do I ever feel like I'm trying to tell people what to do, but I'm just sharing what I found
Yes.
through experience that I would call not just a biblical truth, but a universal truth of, this is how reality works. This is my experience. And now I'm finding a lot more like-minded individuals who went, oh, wow, you went through that? So did I. I've never had this conversation before. I've only told a couple people, because everybody wants to act like everything's okay all the time and never let anybody through that armor. So, that being said, God has called you out of hiding, just like I would say he did for me. So you are now an actor, filmmaker, and the founder or co-founder, and really money man and driver of the International Sports and Entertainment Media Group, or India Sierra Echo Golf, which is up here behind me on the banner with the globe. And you're creating stories, really second chances. And I know we're working on that with our Rusty Dogs of War documentary. And I know you're working on that, as I already explained initially, when I started riding with basketball. And I'm learning so much about that sport as my son is playing. And I really love coaching these kids. And I've always admired, Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, for their work ethic. And now I'm understanding, one, as an athlete, what that means. And now I'm getting to coach 9, 10, 11, 12-year-olds and trying to bridge the gap between, look, one, and I told them last practice, because they're literally at practice right now. I said, look, success can call in. Rent is due every day.
Yeah.
And if you're doing the bare minimum in the world, that might be now elite, because so many people have gone to, I'm going to get my instant fix from scrolling. And if I can't get rich quick, I'm not going to try. And I said, a lot of you guys are realizing, and it's at the beginning of each one of these podcasts, when I break these up individually, I have 4 kids. 3 are mine. One is one of my basketball players, whose dad is the head coach of the team. And they all say, hey, I want to be professional athletes, which I love, because I would consider myself
big dreams
in a unique category, the same thing. I'm like, see, but as a young kid, you don't understand what that means. But as I talk about with my coach, everybody wants to be a pro until it's time to do pro level shit. And that's the
Facts.
boring.
Clock that.
That's the waking up early, going to sleep late, and living it every day. You're living it.
Living
the
it.
Diet, the exercise, the routines.
You're not staying out late when everybody else is.
Right. I could tell Kobe stories all day. They're all over the internet. But I think one of my favorite ones is, I don't know where he's at in his career. Maybe it's the dream team for Team USA, or he's getting ready for All-Star Weekend, something along those lines. But point being, they're in a place where most of the teammates are going out on the town. And he goes, well, I got to work out at 4 a.m. They're like, what are you talking about? Practice doesn't start till like 10, 11. We'll be fine. He's like, no, I don't do what you guys do. That is the minimum standard. I'm here to do more. And they were like, okay. And he goes to bed, and the rest of them go out. And then they realize when they're feeling like shit the next day, man, there's something to this. And they all kind of start gravitating toward his methodologies. So, that being said, you currently live in California. I know your wife, Deborah, awesome lady. I know you have 2 kids of your own. She's got 2 or 3.
Yes, she has 2.
I think
and a grandson.
Yep, you guys got a grandbaby. And, you're really just living. I would say you're actually living life.
I can honestly finally say that, yes.
And here's what I mean by that. And I think this is key. A lot of people survive and they think they're alive, which, you have a pulse. But to me, there's a difference between surviving and thriving. And not a lot of people thrive. A lot of people survive, and then they wait till it's what I would call too late. And then they realize, man, almost everything's passed me by. And, whether it's 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, well, if you haven't taken care of yourself, you may not have a whole lot that you can do at that point. And so I want to commend you, as you are constantly on the grind. It's really cool to watch. And my dad's the same way. And I hope when I am up in years that I am choosing to continue what I would call the hard right over the easier wrong. And so enough of me running my mouth. John David, let's start out. What is life like for you as a young man? And this was in Kentucky, is that correct?
Yeah, Louisville, Kentucky, correct.
Tell me about that. What is like? Wow. What is life like? I'm a Vegas boy through and through, minus my bouncing around in the Army. So, what's that like? What's like growing up?
Well, let me just squash a myth that everybody in Kentucky sitting on a porch, barefoot and pregnant and hearing the song from Deliverance. That is as far as that's not even close. Now,
Okay.
are there people out in those sticks? Of course, 100%. But I didn't grow up in that. I'm not going to paint a picture that I grew up in some rough, hillbilly land. And I love my hillbillies. I don't say that as a disrespect because Kentucky is near and dear to my heart. That's where I want to be buried. That's my heart. I love my home state. I'm obviously a diehard Kentucky fan, and I just love Kentucky. My parents raised me there and taught me so many things that I believe, yes, it comes from a culture, but also, there's a deep rooted culture in Kentucky of God, family, and service. And that's the culture there. That is a big culture there. Now, is it there now? I don't know. But when I grew up, yes. And growing up in Louisville, Kentucky, I write this in my book, it was church on Sunday. It was Dad and I hitting the gym after. Sometimes we'd hit a buffet, which I loved, and got my Belgian waffles and potatoes and my eggs and bacon. And then we'd hit the gym. We'd hit the gym, bro. And we would go to actually it was a school across town called Ballard High School. And they had an open gym every Sunday. And my dad's like, no one else is doing this. If you want to be the best, you got to put in the work. And I was like, and I love, see, here's the thing is, I loved it. I didn't know any different. I
Right.
Going and shooting hoops was like, I used to say to him, that was my sanctuary. That's where I could just get my peace. And even when I was stressed out or my mom corrected me or gave me a hard time on something, I'd grab my basketball and just go outside and start shooting. And I would just shoot, and I would have my big boom box, playing. And, nobody knows what that is today, but, you could Google it. But, those big ones you see in the movies, the guys carrying on their shoulders. But let's set it down. And I'm a rock guy. I had every bit of rock and roll that was on my, from AC/DC to, whomever, Def Leppard to Ozzy Osbourne. But then my mom
had to have talent to make music.
What's that?
Back when you had to have talent to make music.
Actual real Van Halen, real talent. And mom would fight me all the time on it because she was a very strong, good Christian woman. She would try to get me to go listen to some Christian music at the time, which I thought was horrible. Most of it is still horrible, sorry. But she did show me some good rock artists. And I compromised a little bit. And because I did that, she let me play my other music, which was fine. She said, as long as your grades don't affect or I don't see a change in your behavior, you're good. And I'm like, I used to always tell her, Mom, I like the music. I don't know what they're saying, but I like the music. So anyway, the fruit of my life proved that early on with, I was a great student, star athlete, however, you asked me how it was, I was hiding secrets. And as a young boy, that's difficult. What do you do with that? And
Right.
God bless my parents. And this is not a knock because, parents, I kept it from them. And at the same time, they didn't know. So,
right.
But
there's really nobody to blame. It is what it is. And it was such a different time. I feel like it's still hard, but men especially could not ever be weak or vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
And especially as a young boy, you're being raised by, I would imagine, a solid but strict,
very strict
father who
very
maybe
strict,
didn't show a lot of emotion because his father never showed him emotion. And
correct. He lost
his
his father. Yeah.
Spare the rod, spoil the child. That
100%.
That doesn't work. Probably a lot more like getting your ass beat and if you step out
Yep.
of line. So
Yeah. Oh, if I raised my voice, if I even looked aside, look at my mom after she said something, my dad looked at me like, I dare you to say anything. You know, I mean, I should I say, quote, got my ass beat is an understatement. And
right. Oh yeah.
I believe
Were
it.
you picking
And
switches? I mean,
and you know what?
I know the
And you know what? I deserved it. I deserved it. And maybe some, maybe not, but yes, I had rulers. My mom, when my parents, when we moved them out of the house, sadly, to go to the next phase of their life, and it was, there was a stack, Caleb, of rulers in this called the linen closet, and I
right.
was like, what the, like
We talking yardsticks or
yardsticks, brother, like like long, and she used to beat my ass with those, and break them on top of my butt.
oh yeah.
I'm built different. I'm a Kentucky boy. Actually, I got
You
the
were
Lord
fed
bless,
right and raised
yeah,
thick.
yeah, the Lord blessed me with the blessed assurance and football legs. So
Uh-huh.
I could take a beating, you know, even
Fair enough.
on and off the court. So and field. So 'cause I play football too, but I was a fullback on the football field. So give me the ball and you
And
know
watch out.
4th down and 1, I'll get you 5.
Right.
You know, I might not outrun everybody on a 60-yard touchdown sprint, but I'll get you what you need. That was
Fair
my
enough.
thing. So, but it was. I like to say, I had a really incredible model of my parents. Like they were strict, they were tough, they were very conservative Christians, and I thank God for that because it had that not happened, everything I've gone through, you and I might not be on this call right now.
I
So,
understand. My
and
parents were the same way. Fast forward, I would imagine 15, 20 years, but still very strict. Leather belts, wooden spoons, and they used to amp it up and always play the psychological warfare. They made up a term, we called it the clunker.
Uh-oh.
And I never knew what the clunker was, but I sure didn't want to find out either. So
Yeah, that doesn't sound like it'd be fun.
no, it works. Let me tell you, it works.
No, it does. And I have to say this because I mentioned it in my book, and like you mentioned my dad, and it's like you were just that was actually right on the money. He was very kind of distant with me, and unless it was sports or the Bible, we really didn't talk much. He would
Okay.
talk about I'd have a question in the Bible, he would explain it, or about my athletic, but other than that, it was like it's just about life, closed off. And I don't mean that to dishonor my father. I honor him to this day. Um, my mom was flip side. She was a sharp tongue. She could cut you down in a second with a 50 cal of
Oh yeah.
cuss words to what she thinks of you. In 2 seconds, you'd be gone.
Yeah.
And
Bless
nothing
your
left.
heart was
Yeah, I'll
not
bless your heart.
something
Yeah.
meant to be nice.
No. And it wasn't just cussing. I mean, it wasn't always cussing, but it was just very tough. And you know what? And unfortunately, on the flip side of that, she, gave me a lot of verbal, and I think it was because of her own mom. I found, my grandmother was very tough, man, and she was very mean to my mom. And, my mom was always striving to be the best. And then she ended up
Well,
having a
and
very, go ahead.
here's why I think this is important because we got to put things in context.
Yes.
I talk the same thing whenever I'm looking at the Bible. Let's put this in context. I would imagine, if my math is correct, your parents either were raised by or a part of the Great Depression. Is that
100%.
correct?
Yep.
Right. So you had to be hard as a motherfucker to survive with
Yeah.
probably barely 2 pennies to rub together. And you know what? You put a smile on your face and you got through it because the will to live, which I've found in my own life and in many others, is actually really strong when you get to where you feel like you have nothing. And it's like, well, do I end this? Thank you, sir. Or do I keep going? You're really a lot tougher than you think you are, even when everything around you feels like it's crumbling.
Yes.
So that's obviously, so that's how my grandparents were somewhere within that generation. Tough, tough
Yeah.
as nails, which was beautiful to watch.
Tough. Yeah.
And now I understand it. I
Yeah.
didn't understand it as a kid, but I mean, I would imagine they might have been working 2, 3 jobs with no complaints.
Of course. My grandfather was he was a engineer on the railroad, like a real engineer, like the train driver. He drove
Yeah,
the trains,
so was mine.
and
Union
salty
Pacific.
too. Yeah, but mine worked for L&N. Do you remember that? L&N Railroad. So, he was always going across the country or to Cincinnati, Louisville to Cincinnati, I think was his main, Cincinnati or Nashville. He'd always be in Nashville, and he would get more trouble because he would come there hot. Yeah, and he would always get suspended. And the very last day, I have a funny story. I remember we went to see him retire, and he came through the train house or whatever you call it. He was coming in from Nashville. Boy, and before we got to the train house, we met him on the track, and he said, "Hop in." So they slowed the train. I jumped in, and boy, he came through that train house, the like a fireball.
Oh
And
yeah.
they were like screaming at it. It was kind of like Top Gun. Remember when he does when he buzzes the tower?
Oh yeah.
So it was that same thing. And they yelled and screamed at him, and he jumped off that train. The train's parked, the smoke's coming up. We were all there, and he flipped them off, and that was my grandpa.
Oh, different generation.
These kids have no clue what
No.
kind of this was, but you know what they are the tough foundational blue collar. We don't have that hardly anymore. I don't feel, or maybe if we do, I need to know where, because it's
country.
Yeah, it's what built the country. Exactly. Now, if you get your toenail dirty or you get a little boo boo, oh, I got to stay home from work. So it's just there was a different generation. So I'm not trying to. So it's like I give them a hall pass on that because they did, like I tell everybody, my parents did the best they could do when they were tough at me, and even unfortunately, my mom would even say some really rough things to me, which and they hurt, and I would literally go to my room and just bawl my eyes out, and just was like, and there was a time when she said something really hurtful to me, and I was suppressing some other things, which I'll go in a little while, and I literally went up to my room and put a rope around my neck as a kid and hooked it up to the it was like a armoire or something. It was like the doors opened up, and
right.
I had my stereo in there and all my trophies in there, and I kind of put it around my neck. And you know what it was like? I was just so I couldn't. The pressure was too much. And I always say,
I'm curious. What age? What age was this?
I want to say probably 12, maybe 13.
Wow.
Yeah. And just couldn't handle it, man. And I remember as soon as I put the rope on, and I kind of it would have been, honestly, I look at it now, it would have been really hard to die because I would have had to, it probably wouldn't have happened. But I felt I wanted to see what it would feel like. So I pulled my knees up a little bit and got down to my knees so it stretched me. And I felt that pull. Yeah. And this is a true story. It's in my book. So I'm going to keep saying it's in my book. I'm not trying to just push the book, but it's in my book. But I literally felt something dark and evil.
This is
real. It's raw.
You were.
That's why I told you. This is very raw, bro. And I remember looking out the window where the air conditioner was, and I saw, it sounds like it's out of a Dickens novel, and I'm like, dude, I'm a kid. So, and I look over and I see a hooded figure and no face sitting there. And whether people say, oh, it's your magic, I don't know. Maybe it was the oxygen that was not in my brain at the moment, but whatever. All I know is what I saw. And it scared the shit out of me.
Spirit world is very real.
Yeah, and I immediately jumped up, took that rope off and threw it down, wiped my eyes off. I was like, and it was like I felt like a presence of which I know now is God, and was just giving me a peace. And I would always hear words in my head, not like, I shouldn't say, maybe words, or just people always say, how do you hear God? And it's like, and a young boy like that, it wasn't so much like you and I are talking right now. It was like God's, it's like speaking to your heart almost, because you
Yes.
would just get this sense of, come on, man,
Peace.
like a coach. Like it was like a coach was there.
But a coach with grace.
And I, it was just my thoughts. But now I know it wasn't my thoughts, because my
Right.
thoughts are
Right. Your thoughts were ready to end your life at 12 years
correct. Correct. And, you know, and that's just a one little sample of, you know, because at the time too, Caleb, you know, I was hiding, you know, there was this kid that used to come over all the time. And
old.
the parents would go downstairs and the mom would send him upstairs to me. And, you know, we would just sit there and listen to music and look at Sports Illustrated. And next thing you know, it would turn into, and he was older. He was probably 4 years older than me. So he was like 16, maybe. And I was probably 13, 14, 15. Yeah, probably around that. So, and he was getting ready to start to drive. And we would just listen to music and everything. And he'd come, next thing you know, he started bringing in Hustler magazines, you know, and I'm sitting on my bed. And before, you know, so just warning, if there's any ears in the room, you might want to tell them I can either not go there or I can continue. You tell me.
You're in headphones, but for YouTube land, you don't want your kids to be exposed to something that is more mature than they need
Yeah.
to hear.
Correct.
Then
Just want to warn.
turn
I
away.
can just, you know what, I'll make it. It's raw in the book, so it tells everything. But let's just put it this way: he started to do things to himself while he was showing me these pictures. And this is the first time I had ever laid eyes on any pornography in my life. I didn't know what pornography was, and you know,
that's
and then
back when you had to get it in print or
correct,
probably VHS.
100%. And I didn't even know that, so I was very
Right.
sheltered. So, and my parents did a great job at that. But I started seeing that, and of course, you know, your body reacts. You're a 13-year-old boy, you know, and then he starts pulling, you know, doing what he's doing, and he starts doing his own thing right in front of me. And I'm sitting there looking at him like, again, 13, if people don't understand, 13-year-old boy. I'm like,
Very
how do you
impressionable.
how do you internalize it? What do you do in this moment? Because no one's ever told me this is right or wrong.
Right.
I don't know. Again, I didn't know anything about it, you know. So you'll laugh, because when I was young, and all of a sudden I'd, you know, wake up with and I remember asking my dad one time, Dad, why does that happen? And you know what he said? And I know this is going to make a lot of religious people really angry right now, and they'll think it's sacrilegious, but it's not. Let me ask you a question: was Jesus part man and part God?
Yes, he was.
Thank you. This is what my dad said. Exactly what he asked me. I said, yes, sir. He goes, don't you think Jesus ever got a morning erection? I said, bang. Yeah. And that is not, and I'm just telling you, that was not how he said it. But for the sake of this call, that's how I'm saying it. Read it in the book. You'll get the real version. But
That's pretty funny.
But what, you know, that was my life. I didn't know. Okay, this happens to you when you're, you know, and no one, and they were probably too scared to tell me. So this kept going on with this kid until finally he would start to do it to me. And it just went on, you know, and I literally was just devastated. I didn't know what to do. I became angry and angrier and angrier and angrier. I had a very explosive personality, to where John was a nice guy. Everyone's always, they said that my whole life. But when you push me too far, I pop. And when I pop, you better clear the fucking room. Sorry for my language, but you better clear the room.
No, this is real life right here.
So that was it, man. And then when my mom was on top of me with yelling and saying what she did, it was like I just had too much. I couldn't bear it, you know. So, but by the grace of God, you know, he encouraged me to push through, and he did. And I mean, the Lord has always been there for me. I always say, you know, God, even in my darkest moments, he would always find a way to push through, and I can speak to my heart, calm my spirit, and allow me to keep moving on. And you know, and you know, when I grew up very flipping the coin on the, like you said it before this call, when we were in the call in the beginning, everyone sees John Gregory, star athlete, I scored 55 points in an 8th grade basketball game. I was one of the number 1, number 2 point guards in the city. I was a star football player. I actually played linebacker because I grew fast. I was like 5'8", 5'9", young, and I was just slaughtering everybody, and running scoring touchdowns, tackles, broke my arm. That's how I became a kicker, because I found a way. I always find ways to reinvent myself, Caleb. I didn't want to just sit on the sideline. So I put a ball down and started kicking it. And next thing you know, I became an all-state kicker. I taught myself,
Oh,
and then I walked on to Kentucky. So, and the only reason I walked on to Kentucky was I was not pursuing it,
okay.
I know that's a fast forward. So anyway,
No,
I
it's
would
fine.
answer. Hopefully you understand, this is my childhood. My mom, she worked hard. She had her own successful business. I watched my mom's work ethic. She was a dietitian, and she saw that elderly folks were not getting the nutrition in the nursing homes. So she found a solution. People were dying, diabetics, everything. My mom came up with individualized healthcare plans for every single elderly person in a nursing home. My mom started that. And these died, and the directors of the nursing homes were like, Martha, she was working for a nursing home, and they were the only ones doing it. And the director pulled her aside and said, Martha, I love you. You made our nursing home look amazing, but you need to go share this with the world. Yeah. And she did. And my mom started her business. And we went from a little house on South 3rd by Churchill Downs, where I used to hear and they're off.
Right. The Derby.
To what I call, yeah, to what I call Pill Hill. We lived in a street with lawyers and doctors. I watched my mom build from nothing. And in that time, they would even give women loans. She couldn't even get nothing. And she found a way, found a bank, and fought. My mom never took no for an answer. She'd always say, don't ever take no. Someone tells you no, find somebody else. No is not an option. I coach basketball the same way. I say it all the time. They're like, no, I can't. Oh my, you want to see me come unglued as a coach? You want to see me
Yep.
my eyeballs pop out? Tell me you can. Oh, yep. I just pray for your soul. Because everything I've been through, I'm like, look, and everything we know, everything we've dealt with, kids, and that is such a passion of mine, Caleb, especially now, even though, yes, I know my book's raw and sitting back, but young people need to see, with guidance of an adult, let me just say, guidance with an adult, because they need to learn. We can't keep sheltering them. Oh, well, the little stork came in and visited your mom and I, and oh, out you came, little Susie.
Right.
But then when little Susie meets little Johnny from the wrong side of the tracks, oops, mom, what happened? Because nobody told her.
Right.
So that's another topic. But the whole point is, we have to start to take our masks off. We have to, my book, the reason I call it The Faceless Man was because I look in that mirror, I don't know who I am anymore. I'm like, there's so much. And we have to we have to break that glass and deal with who we are. And guess what? It's ugly. You have to actually look in the mirror and go, ooh, I don't like that. Instead of suppressing it with something else. Because you see anger, you see depression, you see alcoholism, you see drugs, you see sex, you see whatever. Yeah. Sorry, I'm on a rant there, but
no, this is good. So two things that I want to point out in there, because I think a lot of people take things in a negative connotation without, again, understanding context and science. I've talked about this. I've been going to therapy for a long, long time. Not in a negative manner, but as a way to help process and understand life. Unfortunately, when I was, and I'm sure the same thing for you, when I was in the military, that wasn't really an option.
Yeah.
Because
no.
Well, at least through the official military channels.
Yeah.
Because if you raised your hand in any way, said you needed help, that usually stigmatized you or blackballed you. Sometimes you'd be removed from your positions.
Correct.
Etc. But point being is this. you listed off a lot of different things that I would consider coping mechanisms, or some might even call addictions.
Yeah.
The human brain is built to be addicted, and that's not a negative thing.
It's not.
Look at what I'm doing right now. I'm riding my bike for 24 hours.
Yeah,
I
I
am
love it.
very much addicted in somewhat of a healthy way to training. And my wife will tell you, either on days that I'm off from training, or if I get too busy and I don't finish or even get my workout done, I'm a different human being. And she'll be like, "You need to go ride your bike."
My wife does the same thing. She goes, "You better go work out, go ride your bike, go do something."
Right.
Yeah. She knows me.
Well, and the reason I bring that up is twofold. One, the brain needs dopamine, but it also needs a way to remove the cortisol levels of stress. And then the other things that we've dealt with, the shame, the depression, the anxiety, the negative hormones, if you will. And the only way I have found, because talking is great, but you need to move your body so that you can actually regulate, self-regulate. And that can be anything: yoga, walking, running, cycling, the gym, whatever.
Get it moving.
But you have to move. And so we use these other things, sex, alcohol, substances, etc., to replace the high that you're looking for without solving any problems. The real problem for most human beings is I'm really just unhappy with myself, but I don't want to admit that, because then that would mean that I have to be the one to change it.
Yeah, you're right, bro. Listen, I've said this before. I've gone through it myself, and I'm very transparent. I've had my own battles, and different. That's what the world calls addiction. And you know what? I've always found that when I'm in the flow, when I'm doing what I believe that God's called me to do, when I'm in the river, things are really moving forward, I'm good. You know what? I can sit down and be social, do the right thing. But when I'm struggling up here, you know what? It's like, then it's not good. So I can sit down, and next thing you know, I'm 3 sheets to the wind. So some people, oh, that's addiction. No, I tell you, it's called not finding your purpose. Because I promise you, show someone who finds the purpose, like you right now, you find your purpose in life. My pastor says this. He goes, I've never touched a drop of alcohol except for communion, anything, all that stuff. And he goes, when you find your divine, when he said the problem with people is they don't know what they're created to do in their purpose. They wake up in the morning, they go to work,
they survive, they don't thrive.
They come home, they watch TV, and go to bed. And do that over and over and over and over and over. And one day you wake up and go, I'm bored. Fuck this.
Yeah.
I got to do something else. They get involved. They have an affair. They start drinking too much. They go to drugs. Like any of these things. Because they don't have purpose.
Sorry, that's my peace with the Lord.
My exercise now.
No, that's a whole word in itself.
Yeah.
Before we get lost on that tangent,
I know we could rabbit hole that down forever.
It's okay. I want to address, how do we go from University of Kentucky to the Navy?
Oh boy. So how that worked was, I was there was a gap in between there. It's in the book where I became a male dancer. So I was playing football, and I was not happy. I was not having my purpose. And I went to a bar one night, and the football players saw me dancing. They were like, man, that white boy can move. And it was Ice Ice Baby was on, and I was
don't get me started. That's my song.
And well, my nickname, that's what my nickname at Kentucky was Iceman. And then everybody tells me now, oh, you kind of look like Val Kilmer, which is really cool. Rest in peace, Val. Love that guy. Doc Holliday, best character ever. But so this guy approaches me there and gives me his card, and I didn't know what was going on. He's like, I want you. You ever thought about being a dancer? And I was like, and in the in the 90s, to me that was like, oh, they wanted me to go to some gay bar or something. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm good, man. And he goes, no, for women and at shows. And he goes, here's my card. Come see me on this night. I'm thinking, you know what? I'm bored with football. I'm not playing. I go to practice. I like wearing the jersey. I'm eating the steak dinners every night because Kentucky, boy, they got guys that are like 6'7", 6'8", monsters, 300 pounds. And, so I'm enjoying that, but I'm not feeling fulfilled. Keep in mind all the backstory I told you. So next thing you know, I show up at this bar and they go, all right, get in a contest. I walked, I don't know. No one ever taught me how to be a male dancer. So all I did was walk up to the DJ and say, hey, can you play Def Leppard? Do you want to get rocked? For about 30 seconds. And then cut it into CNC Music Factory. Cause I'm gonna blow everybody's mind. Because they think I'm white boy can't move. And all of a sudden I come out, they go, okay, this new guy, he plays in Kentucky. People are like, boo, because I was coming back to Louisville, which, Louisville Cardinals. So I was in a Louisville area when I came back to Kentucky's in Lexington.
Gotta love a good college rivalry.
They started booing. Yeah, I was already like under the gun for that. So next thing you know, I tore it up. I absolutely tore it up. And I was going against the guy who was a boxer in town, a celebrity, and I won the contest. And next thing you know, they offered me a job making, at that time, it was around $500 a week. You're talking in 90, what, 2, 3?
That was good money, and I would imagine most of it was cash.
It was all cash. And that's not counting the tips.
Right.
John, I was on cloud 9, bro. So I quit football, pissed my parents off, got an apartment. We didn't talk for a long time. And I detoured for 10 years.
You were a male dancer
Yes,
for
sir.
10 years? Wow. The real Magic Mike. John David in the flesh.
That's it, bro. Well, I wouldn't say it was 10. It was probably rough. Yeah. So during this time, and I actually moved out to LA, and I only did it in Kentucky for a little bit. I came out to LA, and I auditioned for Chippendales, and they wanted me to go to Vegas and be. Actually, were you in Vegas? I was asked to be on the Vegas Chippendale crew, but I said no because I wanted to stay in LA. Why would I move to LA then have to move to Vegas?
Huh?
So I said no. But I tried to get out of it. So, that's when I got into acting and doing everything and soaps and everything. And then when I got turned around and met my first wife, right then, right around 9/11 is when the Navy thing started.
Huh?
So I basically, people don't understand that military was never, it wasn't just elite. I wanted to be in the Navy since college, but this is a true story. So I went to a recruiter while I'm playing football because I'm trying to find myself before the stripping. Right. I went to a Navy recruiter. He sat me down. I was going to leave Kentucky and join the Navy. And the guy at the very end, before I signed the dotted line, guess what he did? He pitched me Amway.
No.
I have a joke.
He had a side hustle going on, huh?
Yeah, he had a side hustle. So I joke, I say Amway saved my life, but even though it didn't, I don't think that would have, the Navy would have kept me out of the trouble that I was in for those 10 years. But I ended up, so I've always had a heart for the military, So, but it was around the time when after my first marriage and 9/11 happened, I sat back and I was like, I'm on shows, I'm doing this. And I was like, I can't sit here and just watch this. I can't. It was everything in me was, I've always been that way. If I see something that burdens me, I have to do something. So I called a recruiter.
I'm going to date myself. I'm 9 years old at 9/11. You are how old at this point?
God, 25? Oh, no, okay. 21. Let's see. No, wait. I was at 9/11 was 31.
Okay. Here's why I bring this up.
I joined the Navy as a 30-year-old.
Okay, one, that's a big commitment, but we all saw that. And one of the big reasons why I'm doing this podcast is this is a historical time capsule. There's a lot of veterans whose stories haven't been told and may never be told.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to fix that because, and so a big, I know I've shared it with you before. Sean Ryan, I've been listening for almost 2 or 3 years. Huge motivational thing to start my own in my own way, but that's a big part of his purpose. He's got on guys that if you don't tell them their stories, by the time they pass away, the story dies with them. And dependent upon the generation, some of these guys, again, were never allowed to talk. Because if they came up and said, hey, this is really bothering me, whether that's post-traumatic stress is what we call it today, before, it was shell shock or whatever label you want to put on it, trauma takes a toll.
It does.
And through the military, generally speaking, the only authorized way to deal with it is alcohol. Which is, doesn't solve anything.
No.
So I'm 9 years old, you're 31. We both experienced the same event.
Yeah.
And we both felt the same call.
Mm.
And so for me, I bring that up because while I was in, and obviously now, it got to the point where probably 2 or 3 years after me, you're almost too young to understand it. 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
It's really hard to grasp that. And now, obviously, kids are born after it happened, and they're reading about it in history books, or they're watching videos
but they're not
on
getting
YouTube.
the real facts.
Well, not only that, but they don't understand. It's like going to a concert or listening to something on Spotify. That you don't understand what it feels like because it's not live.
Yeah.
And so I'm assuming you're on soap operas, Days of Our Lives, if I remember correctly.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
People thought I was
doing your
crazy.
dancing. You're doing your dancing thing.
Yep.
You're living your life.
Actually, I just stopped.
Yep. But the point is, you're making plenty of money, but that never fulfilled you.
Yeah, I was not hurting. Money doesn't solve the problem.
No, I agree.
But it doesn't create this. Trust me, I like having it.
I also think it just
shows. I like having it. But
it shows people what's really on the inside. Because when your priorities can be at the snap of a finger, whatever that may be, all it does is magnify what's already there. So
100%.
So you watched the towers fall at 31.
I did. I sure did.
Raise your hand, and how does the conversation go with the recruiter at that point?
Well, they were. I tried to go in the Marine Corps, and they turned me down. They said I was too old, which really pissed me off because I was just wanting to go fight. I wanted to give me a gun and go fight. I wasn't looking to. People might think, "Oh, you're in the Navy." Listen, I tried to go to the Marine Corps. I was like, "Give me a gun. I want to go fight because that's the dog in me." Right. And they said, "Sir, or you're, wish we'd had you, 10 years earlier. But, why don't you try the Navy?"
So here, let's bring this up for a second because this is important. My last job, again, I want people to understand context. My last job was basic training company command in Fort Benning, the Benning School for Boys. From my understanding, and this may have changed, but at this point, did they tell you basically you're too old?
Yeah, they did.
31, like you can't come in.
Yeah.
We're not interested.
That's what they said. That's exactly what the Marine Corps said to me.
Did you have to get an age waiver to enlist?
Well, it was the recruiter wasn't interested. He just, I tell anybody, if you want to go in the military, just like you know, you know what, I probably should have fought it. Probably if I would have found the right one, he probably would have got me in. But
Okay.
I was so like, screw you. Like, here I am volunteering after a war. A war just broke out. And I'm saying, here I am. And you're telling me I'm too old. I was thinking, pardon my French, bitch, you don't know me. I'll be the best damn rifleman you ever had. You know?
And I bring that up because usually the candidate that they're looking for, generically speaking, for many reasons, is fresh out of high school,
Yeah.
or maybe has attempted life outside of high school, and things just they couldn't find their place. So, you know, hey, I'm gonna go, or mom and dad kicks them out the house. I had plenty of those, and hey, you better go down to the recruiting station because I'm done feeding your ass.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right, we just hit our first record at 100 kilometers.
You're at a record right now?
Yeah, 100 kilometers.
Congratulations. And I'm with you.
So you joined at 31.
Yep.
What is that basic training experience like for you, when I would imagine most of the kids around you with literally zero life
I love
experience?
I love talking about this.
Are you they calling you the old man? What's going on in basic training?
Well, they first of all, you know, I had an inspect from the in the Navy, we call them RDCs. And I showed up. Funny, when the bus pulled, you know, when I got to Great Mistakes, and here I was being me. I stood up on the bus, and all these young guys getting off, and I just stepped back because they're all so nervous. I let them all go, and there was one guy in the back scared to death, and I was like, "Hey man, go ahead, I got you. Go. Here, let me." He's like, "No," and so he wouldn't go, so I ended up coming off the bus, and he comes out, and I got my sea bag over my shoulder, and I look at him, he doesn't have it. I go. I said, "Bro, where's your sea bag?" No, it's on the. So I go, I'll run in to get it. And I got my ass chewed so hard at that moment. But why are you doing that? You know, I was like, well, I'm trying to help him out. Did you just talk back to? I mean, they just destroyed me within seconds. But see, I was like, in mine, I'm like trying to help. But see, they knew me. This is what's a really cool thing happened though, because I ended up being the leader. But
they usually
it was my nature out of the gate to do what? To take care of people.
Care of others.
I didn't care. Left onto Grande. I didn't care about getting yelled at. I just wanted to help my guy. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people think getting yelled at is like, geez, let me press pause. Nowadays, especially as a coach, people right onto Academy Drive. Nowadays, when you yell at people, they melt. They can't handle it.
Right.
And it's great. It's crazy because I'm actually glad that my parents yelled at me and were tough on me. And my basketball coaches screamed and yelled and threw water bottles at us and, you know, called us everything under the sun. Because honestly, when I got to the Navy, I was like, I'm 30. I was like, this is easy. Like, this is like water off a duck's back. You know.
Well, and you're also realizing it's a game.
It is a game. I figured it out within minutes. And I knew how to get through already. And the guys are looking at me like, how are you doing this? Like, you know. At the light. And it was like, you know, obviously I was a lot more mature as being older, but you know what? Immediately the RDCs, they gave me instant respect, and everyone's standing in line and they're like, we need a leader. And no one jumped up. And you know, it's funny, before I left, the recruiter said, hey, don't volunteer for anything. Just stay under the radar. Just, you know, they'll leave you alone. Just stay under the radar. Caleb, I'm not wired that way. It's just, I can't. I tried. I'm standing there and they're like yelling, we need a leader, da 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 da. And next thing you know, they're like, who's gonna hang on, I'm trying to fix my sound here. They're like, who's gonna lead? no one. I was like, and I felt that tug step out. I was like, and if I was in this war, if you could have, I was like, no, don't do it.
Been there.
I raised my hand. I was like, damn it, what am I doing?
Right. I've been there. I've been on both sides of that.
You know what that's like, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I'm not gonna take the whole boot camp experience, but honestly, boot camp for me was not hard. I liked it actually. The physical fitness part was great because I needed to lose weight. So people crying over doing IT intense training. When I heard that word, I was like, sweet, I need to drop 10 pounds.
So how did you choose?
But
did you choose
I realized I
explosive
wasn't there
ordnance?
for me. I was there to go ahead.
Did you choose explosive ordnance, or did that choose you?
That chose me. I wanted nothing to do with that.
Interesting.
Nothing to do with it. And that's actually a funny story too, because I initially was going on a boat unit that a boatsman's mate who they replenish things at sea.
Okay.
And you know what? It was like that they actually that's where I originally was starting out as, and then they said, you know what? Where are you at? Oh, you're in California. Blah blah. Seal Beach. Well, Seal Beach, that base out there. I call it that active duty base out there. Is like it's kind of like a ghost town. You would never know, but there's all kinds of ordnance out there.
Okay.
So that's where they said they need. I mean, they basically said they need someone like me. So, that's where it picked me because there was like a mess up with my, the recruiter screwed up, and then I was supposed to be in Port Hueneme. I think it was with the CBs, and then to this boat unit, and then I wasn't there, and it was a mess. And the funny thing is, they actually tried to kick me out because there was a big screw up in my paper. I didn't show up to my unit.
Oh boy! So then they've got you down AWOL.
Yeah, it was a whole mess, bro. And I'm like, F this, I'm out. I should just let it go, And there was a master chief who I wish I could remember, but I just don't remember. There was a master chief. Somehow I met him at, maybe it's at the base in Port Hueneme, but it was a master chief, and he basically just I sat down and I was angry, and I was like, man, this is ridiculous. And he just kind of like, hold on. And that's what it is. It was, well, you go to this unit, and I was like, wow, they got to send me out to the training and do all this stuff. So, it was crazy, bro. And I ended up, being with the mobile mine assembly unit out of Seal Beach, the active and reserve eventually through there. And I stayed. People don't realize in bomb units, I call them, we are a tight community, and even there's an integration even between the active side and the reserve side, and everyone, it's a huge family. I'm sure where you're in any kind of, because you're dealing with things. I always say we dealt with things that would explode miles
right
into vapor dust.
Right.
A Mark 64, Mark 65. Try, knowing how to put one of those things together is it's a funny thing is I always say it was like if you could follow an SOP and be able to, what do you call it? Put like a jigsaw puzzle together. You too could do that. Believe it or not, the Navy does a great job of spelling out your training.
Go past this slide.
Yeah.
So, but all that to say, I mean, that's where it all kind of shifted for me, and we would deploy. I mean, we would be gone over to Japan like constantly in East Asia and over in Okinawa, and so we would go on these bomb builds for days, in and out, just all day. Taking them, coming in. We work with the Marine Corps, and we spent hours and hours, hardly any sleep. You take your peanut butter and jelly or whatnot. The funny thing was I didn't smoke, but I would take smoke breaks just so I could relax for a minute.
Yeah. You're not the first person who's told me that.
Yeah, I didn't smoke, never did. They tried to get me to smoke. All the young guys, over in Japan, all these young Marines, man, they all smoked like chimneys, man. But anyway, It wasn't a funny story. We were doing a bomb build, and we were loading up on the forklift onto the trucks, and this poor Marine, he was working with it, and he was taking the bomb in the forklift to put it on, and he hit the gas instead of the brake. And if you Google this, you can actually Google it. It used to be private. You could Google this. You'll see it. You'll see this. You might have seen it. It could have made the news. It was this forklift hanging off the edge of a dock with a bomb, that would blown half the island up, with the tip like this far from the ground. Those are the same bombs dropped from the planes, Caleb.
So that was my next question. Were you guys building ordnance for jets, or were you building
Everything.
ordnance for submarines or
Jets? Mostly jets. The bomber planes. All the, I don't know the correct terminology. My Navy lingo is hurting these days. But all I know is the bomb planes, they would be underneath, and they're all different sizes. The Mark series on bombs, they range from, you could look it up. The Mark series, they go from from a fighter plane, right, or from a bomber, because the ones that we had mostly were those ones that they would drop off the plane, because they have those fin tails, and when those things you drop, the last thing you do on that, man, you take the wire from the back to the front, and you take a piece of duct tape and you slap it. I'm not shitting you, bro. And we write a little message on it.
Of course. I've seen some photos of those messages.
We get in trouble too, but we did it anyway. And and so when those things drop, bro, the air hits it, and they pop open, and I feel sorry for I don't feel sorry if they're the enemy, but yeah, it's a big mess. But yeah, man, that was like part of that crew and team. I mean, I did everything. From there, it was even like they came to us for even funeral detail. It was like and I kind of started drifting into that. I mean, I did such a good job, and I would do everything. I would write the evals for everybody. I was the be all. I did every single thing. I mean, where I would get the number one, it was called, out of all, you get the top ranked eval, right? Or the top ranked. Again, my military jargon is suspect anymore. But but here I would write even the evals for guys.
I just want to ask a clarifying question, because for the Army, the EOD guys are known for the big green marshmallow suits. Was that what you were doing, or was this more of the putting together side?
Putting together side.
Not the correct. Taking apart side.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you guys go through similar training with the diffusion stuff?
Yes. I mean, the diffusion stuff is scary, really scary stuff. But mostly my focus was we had to literally get in and put all the guts and put these things together, if that makes sense. I mean, we had to be basically, qualified to do that. I mean, you're not going to just stick some Joe Blow on a bomb and say, here, read this and make sure it works,
Right. Well, we can hope. I've met my fair share of unqualified individuals who shouldn't be in places that they are, but yes, I understand what you're saying.
And you know what? I hate to say it, we definitely had it's a big unit. We had guys, I call it petty officer skates. Anytime we had to go do work, that dude, you never found him. Where are you?
Right. Oh yeah. So how long are you playing with Uncle Sam in the United States Navy?
9 years, give or take. The last probably 4, I jumped in and was when I was doing the reserves, because it was just killing. Those deployments were. And it was really hurting my marriage, my first marriage.
So that was my next question.
I spent more time in Japan than I did in the States, I felt like back then. You know what I mean?
So how long?
Hold on one sec, man.
Yep.
Pardon me. I lost the sound feed. Where is it?
I hear you.
I'm multitasking.
Can you hear me? I can hear you. You're currently muted on my end.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Well, I can't hear you. Sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you if I put the phone up to my ear, but I don't want to do that. That's weird. Why is this doing this?
Hang on. Audio.
It's good. This is weird. Why is this happening?
Is that
I
any better?
apologize.
No,
I
you're
am
good.
challenged in these areas. I need my son. I'm looking at the Zoom now, and I don't see anywhere where it's going to let me. Why I can't go to speaker on my phone? Hang on one sec. Let me stop video.
Can you hear
Start
me now?
video.
Any change?
Oh, hang on. Got it. You there?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Okay, we're back. Sorry about
Okay.
that.
So again, important delineation. A lot of people don't take into consideration the effect of service has on the family. When you went to basic training, were you married at that time?
Yes.
And how long had you been married to your first bride?
Very, very, not even a year, bro.
Okay. And then you're
Yeah,
stationed in
2001. Yeah,
California,
yep,
and then you're bouncing all around for training
yep.
and
4 weeks
deployments.
here, 2 weeks there, 4 weeks here, 6 weeks here. You
Hmm.
know, craziness.
Yep. The military is a tough place for families. I think
It's
even more than the soldiers, because then you have to deal with how tough it is when you get home with the
Yep,
family.
100%.
And
And
have you had
and you,
did you have your kids while you were in the Navy?
my son was born. What year was he born? 2000 and yes, 2004. So it was later.
Okay.
So, but here's the thing. You touched on something, which I gotta just say. People don't realize this. Like, yeah, we train in the military and we go to the gym and do all these things, but it was like I lived for the barbecues.
Oh yeah.
I lived for the as soon as it was time to go, it into watch, into duty, whatever we were for the day. It was like, man, I could not wait to and I cooked. So to get to the in Okinawa to where we were staying and these and I had this huge outdoor pavilion, and I would just all the dudes would bring me their meat. That sounds funny. Bring me their meat, but they'd be letting it soak all day, you know. And I'd
Well,
fire
and
up
I'm
the
sure the
grill.
boy from Kentucky knew how to handle
Come
the
on, the
smoker
boys
and the
from Kentucky
barbecue.
knows how to handle their meat. So anyway, so yeah, man, they brought the meat, and I said, hey, you guys got to buy mine, and if I'm cooking, you're buying. So I got all. So my beer and my food was taken care of as long as I cooked.
Right.
So my diet was trash, bro. It was
Right.
just
But
straight steak and beer.
you're generically young and you're doing enough physical
Yes,
activity that it
exactly.
doesn't really negatively affect you.
Nah,
Um,
not until later. But yeah, it wears you down eventually.
so what is
But
the catalyst that you decide, hey, I'm not going to re-enlist. The Navy's not for me.
great question. I would, and I want to say this to this day. I have some regrets. I don't. And some people say, "Oh, you shouldn't have any regrets." Well, I'm sorry, I do. I do.
That's real. That's real life.
It's real life. My regret is that I didn't finish.
Okay.
The Master Chief pulled me aside. So what happened was that my marriage was tanking bad. Fighting. I was, it was just not good. I was drinking so much.
That was my
A
next question.
lot of drinking. Um, and I was showed up. I was also the fitness command guy. God, I can't remember the names of the stuff, but I was my fitness leader for my unit. So I
Okay.
was out. So it happened one day. I'm out in Seal Beach. Our unit is all around me. I'm in the middle, and I'm leading us in calisthenics. Right? It's
Yep.
early. We're doing our thing, and next thing you know, it was like my head exploded, and I passed out. Like I thought I had an aneurysm or something. And
Okay.
all I remember is but one of my shipmates saw me fall, and he ran out and saved me, or my head would have hit the hard deck. Caught me, laid me down. Next thing you know, I look up, my senior chief standing over me, smacking me around, trying to get me to come to. and an ambulance is on the way, and I was out in Los Alamitos, and dude, it was like I didn't even know what happened, and it
So
was just
what did happen?
the doctor said it was like, because I was really hungover, bro, extremely hungover.
Okay.
I mean, I had drank a lot the night before, and because I don't know how we
Okay.
function like that.
This
Drink a
story
lot
is
and then
this is sounding
get up and
familiar
then,
with the soldiers that I had. I
bro,
remember it
how do
as
you?
well.
Oh, well, I have a funny. So, dude, one time I was so hungover standing at attention. The senior came by at me and he looks at me and he goes, blankety blank, Gregory, you smell like a got blankety, distillery. And I was
Uh-huh.
like, I stood there like this, and we go in and then we broke down and to start the day. And he said, Gregory, come to my office. I was like, God dang it. And I walk into his office. I'm not going to say his name, but by the way, I love this guy. Love this guy. He always had my back. And he chewed me out, first of all. And then he hands me a monster. He goes, take a big swig of this because you look like shit. And he goes, you look like shit, and I need you to be squared away today. He goes, I'm going to pull you off the line, and you're going to sit in that office and you're going to write evals. I was like, oh, senior, come on.
Right.
So he pulls me off the line, but he hands me the monster can. I take the monster can, open it up, and go like this. And I go, it was, it was beer.
Oh no.
He said, drink the whole thing. He made me drink the whole thing. And I felt a million times better at that point.
Little
But that
hair
was
of
the
the dog, huh?
little hair of the dog. And he's like, get your ass out here and go back to work. So anyway, I'm not saying I will never mention his name because it's just out of his own. But you know
Well,
what? Guys know they take care of you. I mean, he took care of me in that moment and I needed it. People don't understand that. So, but what
look,
happened was
we
to go
used
back to,
I used to run the guys into the ground. You show up like that. Hey, we're not doing paperwork. No negative counseling. We're going for a 5 mile run. You get
oh,
those demons out,
you're
and then
brutal, bro.
we'll have a different conversation when
Yeah.
you're
Well,
done.
yeah. Well, that's why I was trying to lead the not the PRT but the fitness for the day, dude. And I snapped. The doctor said that I just was. There was nothing. He just said it was alcohol, too much alcohol and dehydration, and
Blood
I
pressure
passed out.
probably
Yeah, my
dropped when
blood
you just
pressure. Yeah,
fell.
everything. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but it was at that point that I remember walking out. I was so embarrassed. I was more embarrassed than anything. I remember going in and at the time we had a female commander. She had just taken commander of our unit, which was unusual,
I was probably pretty unheard of back then.
very much so. And she was amazing. We're friends to this day on Facebook. Love her. She's amazing. Great family. Her husband's in. She was in the Navy. Um, she pulled me aside and she was like, "What's going on with you?" And I broke down. I started crying like a baby. Had it been a male commanding officer, I probably wouldn't have. But because
Fair enough.
she was very nurturing, and she was also attractive, And I just remember just kind of opening up to her and just saying, "My life's a mess. My marriage is crumbling. I got to get out." She
Okay.
so and so she said, "Well, why don't you?" Because I had to take the exam coming up. She said, "If you take that," I said, "I already had again. Believe it or not, and I was still like number one. I was ranked. Everyone vote. This go around, I was ranked number one out of all my unit again. I'd received a NAM for some things, and I took the test. And you know what, dude? I've never been a good test guy, Caleb. You know what?
Okay.
I could sit down and build a bomb with my eyes closed. But when you got to make me write it out or write questions and half the stuff I always felt on these tests were stuff we never even used. Stuff I didn't know. Or honestly, I didn't study to be straight. No BS. I never studied because
Right.
I felt like
Yep.
I knew this stuff. You know. So, but I passed the test. But in the Navy, and I don't know what they call it in the Army, but there was to get to first class because I was a second class. So I missed it by like 0.03.
Okay.
That's not even a full question.
Right.
So they're like, but my eval shot me up through it, and I still missed it by 0.03. And they're like, oh my God, we got to find this guy a 0.03. But my fleece I remember at that time to God was
if it's God's, you want me to be in the military still, then this will be it. And when they
Right.
told me that I was gonna still be a second class again, and then I had to come up for reenlistment, I was like, nah, I'm done.
Fair enough.
So I said I was done, and the Master Chief tried to talk me out of it, and he said they just go on, like a leave. I was like,
Right.
nah, no, I'm out, done.
So
I
you got
left.
out at what rank?
Oh, it's second class.
Okay.
Yep, it sucks. I should have been a chief, man, with as much as I did and the rewards I got and everything I did, but it wasn't God's plan, man. It really wasn't. Had I stayed
And
in, I
so
definitely would have made it.
where do you go? So here's what I'm hearing. And we talked about this at the beginning. You're losing identity piece by piece.
Yep.
When you're in the Navy, do you actually have identity?
Mm-hmm.
Or what I found, I never truly, I love the Army, but I also struggled in a lot of ways because I felt like I couldn't necessarily be myself.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest, I didn't have all the right badges.
Yeah.
And wasn't always for lack of trying. But um, I had wanted it to be what I thought it was in my head so bad, but I never found that expectation was ever met in reality.
Mm.
So I still lost or struggled with identity there because I couldn't be myself, but I was also trying to be who they wanted me to be. And so, there's that shame and confusion and similar to you of, hey, my family's really struggling with this. And I'm trying to be the dutiful husband that I wrote first blank check to, but I also know that the Army blank check supersedes anything else because that's how it's written. You're married to the military before you're married to anything else, regardless of date and time.
100%.
So when you decide to leave, where are you at? And at this point, you're 40 years old, correct? Give or take?
Yep.
Okay, so now I don't know if you felt like this.
Well, I had already started to do security,
Okay.
to rewind that, because I had started to jump into that as well in my mid 30s.
Okay.
So
because you were in the reserves.
Correct. So
did you find that fulfilled the identity piece?
It was just
like the money's good, just like
the money's good. It was the money.
Stripping.
Correct. I needed to make something that competed with stripping. And I always tell people this. I tell young guys that get into security now, because I tell them, I go, look, security for me, it's funny, they both are S's, was like the same thing. Like I couldn't get out. I only did it to for a season. I was like, oh, I'm just going to do this for a little bit.
So why we tell ourselves.
Yeah. And dude,
I've heard the same thing about contracting.
Until last year. Then
right.
I did until last year. So, I was running and gunning, bro, protecting, the rich and the famous and presidential candidates, foreign dignitaries, you name it, I did it. That sounds cool. Everyone loves to hear that. But and you know what? It was honorable. But you know what? It was too long. You know what? And I lost myself in all of that. It was never really my calling. I know some people go, what? How can you say that? It never was, Caleb. It was just,
before we pass this on, because I think it's important. Somebody in that situation, whatever it may be, they're in it for the money, is the point being.
Yep.
What is your message to them moving forward? Because I know what that feels like.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, well, for lack of a better term, either I'm not fulfilled or I hate this job.
Yeah.
But it's secure. There's benefits. And I need to provide this type of lifestyle for my family, myself, my future family.
Correct.
What would you say to that individual if they're struggling with that hole?
it's a hard one because I say it's case by case. You
Fair enough.
know, because first of all, as men, we're supposed to take care of our families. I don't have tolerance for people just don't. You're
I
gonna
agree.
sit on your ass, and you know
And
what?
that's not what I'm saying. But if you're
Yeah, yeah,
driven
yeah. No,
enough
no, 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 no. I,
to
I know you're not.
do
But
something,
I,
what
I. Go ahead.
what
I'm
would you
sorry.
tell somebody who's feeling like, man, for lack of a better term, this is a job, but just over
Hmm.
broke. But I have no
Got it.
passion. I have no zeal. It's
Hmm.
paying the bills, maybe really well,
You
but
ask them.
I feel I need to be doing something different, better, somewhere else, whatever that may be.
You have to and honestly, from a faith perspective, you have to talk to God. You have to pray and ask because you got to know, well, how long is this season? The mistake I made is I never consulted God on anything. I
Mm,
just did what John wanted.
mm,
John needs to pay the bills. So this is what John was. So doesn't mean that's what God wants. So I would say consult God. He's your father. Ask him, write it down, pray, get some counsel around you of people that are smarter than you and get some wisdom too. There's wisdom in counselors. We're always afraid that we're saying, oh, well, they're going to tell me what to do. No, no, no. It's actually wisdom to get. Doesn't mean you got to do it, but find people you respect and say, here's what my dilemma is. Where do you help me walk through this? And then ultimately, what is God saying to you? And you know what?
mm.
I didn't do that, Caleb. I was like, "Oh, I just got to pay the bills, Caleb. I mean, man's got to pay the bills. That's what we got to do.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's
So
a
that,
that's a whole
so,
word in itself right there.
why don't we ask God,
Remove the ego
Yeah.
and
Humble yourself
ask God.
and ask God, bro. And I didn't.
Mm,
So, you know, it's funny. I'm walking around Walmart looking for stinking firewood. This is crazy. I'm in a circle here. Um, but yeah, I think that's what I would tell somebody first and foremost. Ask God. Hang on one second. I apologize. Where's the firewood? It's gonna be that back left. Back left. So the other thing is you have to know, we all know. See, we kid ourselves, Caleb. There's always that thing I say, we suppress things. You said that earlier. That's a key word for me. There comes a time, just like coaching, just like anything, there comes a time in work, jobs, whatever, and you get that sense in your feeling, you go, I think a season's coming to an end.
okay.
And where I'll use John Calipari, one of my favorite coaches. Coach at Kentucky for a long time. Now he's at Arkansas. He said, I should have left Kentucky, years ago. I knew I should have, but your ego wouldn't let you. And then it turned bad and sour, and now you understand. It's knowing the seasons of when, you know, I feel like I extended my season longer than I should have doing it because ultimately it's not what I've created to do. You saw what you read off, and thank you for the incredible introduction you gave me. But what you read off was what my heart's desire and passion are that I put on hold. Where's the phone?
So I think you hit something, especially for men, that is very difficult to deal
Is that
with,
anyone? Thank you.
and I would argue even more so in the military, especially the folks that feel they're at the tip of the spear, if you will.
Yep.
The ego,
Pride.
the ego. I'm speaking from the infantry perspective.
Yep.
And I think there's a time and a place for it. But man, I used to drill into these kids' heads pride, and part of that's pride in self, pride in the
Mm-hmm.
unit, pride in what you're doing. Because if we're going with the 1% model, which for my podcast has many different meanings, I would argue positive, but 1% of the population raises their hand, say, hey, I'm going to defend this great nation. Have pride in that. even if you're not in the front. But then, even then, a very small percentage of that 1% says, hey, put me in the worst of the worst with honors, sir. So when you're drilling that into somebody's head and then you try to get out of it into the civilian world, you're like, man, wasn't long ago, I was the baddest motherfucker I thought, on the block. And now nobody's giving me the time of day. And how do I fit in a world where what was is not what is? And what will I become now? And so I had a big ego death in a good way. And vulnerably and honestly so, when I started all this, it was for me to prove that I was the best, because I felt that I never measured up in the military. And so I was going to go prove the world wrong and conquer it by myself. And that was the wrong attitude. It took me years to figure that out because I continued to fail. I wouldn't finish races. A lot of things you could go into that, but point being was I thought I knew what I was doing. I had no idea. And until I sought counsel and brought the right people around me, including teammates, to share the load, was the only way that I was ever going to be successful. And I think that lesson is true in everything in life, whether it's your spouse, your teammates, your boss, your friends. If that's not the right people, oh,
Yeah.
oh, how dangerous that can be.
Man, you just hit on something, man, and that is a mistake I have made in my life, man. You know what? It's like going off on me like fireworks right now. It's having a team of support around you, of like-minded people, not having people that agree that not having yes men. Yes men will
Right.
get you. Yes men will get you killed.
I agree.
Killed. Look at Hollywood.
Yep.
Get you killed. But having a strong support team, I'm trying to tell that to my son now too. Like, dude, who you hang out with is everything. I always say, if I want to know who you are, all I got to do is find the 5 people that you are. Did you buy your better? All you have to do is, I'm sorry, Caleb. So you find the 5 people. I'll look at 5 people you're hanging out with, and I'll tell you who you are. That's easy.
I agree. I would agree.
And having that to help you, not again, we're so worried. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. But having a someone that you can bounce things off of, I always say have somebody.
Counsel.
Yeah, I have a variety of people in my life now. Spiritually, I have ministers. I have people like yourself. They'll just tell me like it is, and I take all different kinds. I take 3 or 4. I have my business partner who's love him, JR. A little salty
JR,
too,
shout out
but
JR.
love you, JR. But you know what? He doesn't sugarcoat anything to me. So I have people around me that care enough about me to tell me when it stinks. Does that make sense?
Yep, 100%. I almost wish in the military specifically, that when you reach a certain rank, and theoretically this is supposed to be built in, but sometimes people are just yes men. That's why the officer has their enlisted counterpart.
Right.
But I always wanted there to be for example, a bullshit lieutenant or a bullshit specialist that was there to just literally go, yo, this is dumb as fuck.
That's great. Well, in the Navy, that's usually the chief.
Right. I agree. Again, there's supposed to be a check and a balance, but sometimes that counterpart either doesn't feel comfortable, isn't strong enough, or is just looking for a good rating. Yeah. And so they won't say anything. And it's like, somebody's got to keep these people in check with these good idea fairies that this is just not realistic. Or this does not, bode well for the people on the ground or the young enlisted soldiers or whatever it may be.
It's a map. Hold on, sorry. Bit of baking soda explosion. Let's take that back in. Sorry.
You're fine. So you're transitioning out.
Yep.
You're into security.
Started doing that, and go ahead.
And how do we end up
For something.
20 years in security? And have we dealt with the things of the childhood? Have we even admitted to ourselves that these things have happened?
In bits and pieces, but never fully. I say, how do I even say this? The
You're still
timeline for
putting
me.
lipstick on the pig.
Yeah. You know what? This is what I said in my book too. Like at the very end, I go, "It's a daily walk, Caleb. Your identity is, for me, it's like it says to me. Oh, I mean, yes, I know who I am now. That's really powerful, which is a big deal. However,
I need to get it.
the trauma in the choices that I've made, the bad decisions, all those things still have a consequence. And I struggle with things to this day that I still struggle with 20 years ago, 30 years ago. I'm like, come on, God. And here's the thing.
And what does he say in return?
Not the super spiritual answer that everybody thinks.
That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for the truth. That's why.
Exactly. Well, and actually I'll take you to a scripture. And it was a scripture where Paul says he complains, and he's like, and the Lord says to him, he's like, man, there's thorn in the flesh. And I'm like, and some people try to say, oh, well, that wasn't really. I'm like, shut up. Shut up. Listen, I have begged, cried, asked God, take it away. Can't do it. Da, 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 da. And he says, son, if you didn't have these couple of these things, that you would have forgotten me.
Ooh.
I said, no way.
Ooh.
I said, come on. He said, yes. And he goes, this is keeping you from hell. I go, wait a minute. You're telling me the very thing that takes me down is keeping me from hell? This is deep, bro.
Ooh.
Because it's a real moment where you go, Lord, I'm fucked up. I need help. Help me.
I don't have it all together.
I don't have it. John David Gregory does not, never will Caleb have it all together. Newsflash. That's why my story is he found the Lord, and the angels sing, and now he's a perfect human being and telling people about Jesus, and this is life. Yeah, that's a bunch of horse shit when I hear that come from pulpits. Sorry, now we're getting raw.
I'm still here, plugging along. There we go. Okay, I lost you for a second. So last thing I heard was, I don't have it all together.
I don't.
I like to use the phrase, my name's in the Bible, but it's not Jesus.
Yeah. You know what? I try my best, and you know what? Sometimes it's not going to work, and that's why I just point to Jesus, man. You know what? And today I'm doing good. Today, you know what? I'm having a good day, and I was up for a reality show a long time ago with a very big producer, and he said, we want you to represent the Christian on the show. And he goes, but I have a question for you. How do I know you're not going to mess up? Because you're the Christian. And he was golfing in his Wilshire office. And this is the guy who did the show, that movie, Bruce Almighty.
Huh.
And I got up, I was sitting on the couch while he was golfing. He goes, you say you're a Christian. I go, yeah. He goes, I see that you were a pastor. I'm like, yeah. And he goes, you're telling me that, how can you tell me that? Because I need to know. And I looked and I said, maybe I'm not your guy. And he goes, what? Well, why would you say that? And I drew I said, I drew an imaginary line in the sand or in the carpet with my foot. And then I stood on the tip of it, on the edge of it, with my foot. And I said, I'm this close to falling. Like literally, my toe was literally on the edge.
Okay.
And I said, and only by the grace of God can I not fall. And every day it's a walk with Christ. And I said, and there's still no guarantee I won't make a mistake. And he goes, that is about as real an answer, he said, I have ever heard from a Christian. He goes, you know how many guys have come at my office? Oh, I follow the Lord now, and I'll never follow him. He goes, you had the most real answer I've ever heard.
Mm.
Because some people go, well, that's not or you will never have this problem. Shut up.
Mm.
Sorry, I say that when I get frustrated. You know what? Go ahead.
I would. It's why we get along so well for many reasons, but we've always just kept it real.
Yep.
And that's part of the reason I think why, at least in the conventional side of the military, I didn't do well. Because I'll never forget, I love this guy to death. I asked him to be on my podcast. He said, I don't like doing interviews. I said, I respect that. But I had two really solid bosses that renewed my faith in the military, but also taught me the value of good leadership. Because you never understand how important it is until you have bad leadership.
True.
So I came from a unit where the leadership was so bad that the gentleman was supposed to be relieved of command in Afghanistan. That did not happen, and I'm not putting any names out there. But my next unit, the boss was so good but I was so traumatized by the previous experience, and I just shot him real straight. I said, look, he came to me. I was in the gym. My good boss came to me and said, hey, Caleb. At the time I was a first lieutenant. He said, I noticed you're on the promotable list. And I was like, yep. He goes, this is a unique opportunity, but I want you to take the company command slot, which is normally reserved for captains. I know you don't necessarily have this training, but I've done some asking around, and I think you can handle it. And I said, look, sir, with all due respect, if you're looking for a dick sucker, you got the wrong guy. And he stood back. I'm like, what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
I said, sir, the things that I have dealt with, I am here to perform. And if you want performance, I am your guy, 1,000%. And he jokingly said,
I'd hire you on the spot with that one.
He jokingly said, well, as long as you cup the balls a little bit, I think we'll be okay. But I want to honor him. And those who weren't in the military don't necessarily understand. This is just how we talk.
Yeah.
But I wanted to honor him because I told him, look, sir, the reason why I want to interview you is, one, you've done some heroic things in the military that a lot of people don't necessarily know about. But you are the only boss that ever created a culture where you were not just allowed, but commanded to take care of yourself and your family. If it was an anniversary, your birthday, a spouse's birthday, a child's birthday, a child's sporting event, he said, the Army will be just fine without you for whether it's a couple hours or 24 hours or 48 hours. You are not to be at work when these things are going on.
Wow.
Because we are in the unique environment where things are so routinely driven at basic training that somebody can cover down for you. And if you can't handle that, you need to look within your organization and fix that. And so I said, I want to honor you for that. And he said, that is now your lesson to pass on to others. And so I appreciate that man. He helped literally save my life. Because when I raised my hand and told my first sergeant, who was my counterpart, I am not okay and I need to go check myself into mental health, their response was, we got you covered. Don't worry. Instead of ostracization, you're a piece of shit. I had no concern that they were going to fire me. They were like, go take care of yourself. And that was such a huge relief because, again, I wouldn't be here today. So here's the other thing that, and this is me speaking from my experience, but I would imagine you feel the same. We go through the things we've gone through so we can turn around and help others through them as well.
Caleb, that's the whole purpose of my book.
Right.
I didn't write it for, look how awesome.
Self-aggrandization.
No, let me tell you. And yeah, do I want it to be successful? Of course. However, the motive behind it, that's why I waited so long. Because I needed to finally feel like I could finally release it, because I feel like the longer I held on to it, I'm not helping people. There's people that need to hear the story because they're struggling and they're in that same position or went through that, and they know they're not the only one. So that's exactly what you're saying.
Well, and so I think what you said, one, I appreciate that. Because, man, as a believer, sometimes I go, God, just like you, why am I still dealing with this? Didn't I fix this already? And one, I know, ego, life, when things are good, God is not always my first phone call. That's just being honest.
It is.
So,
no, you're right.
Just like you said, sometimes we have to have these thorns to remember, hey, I'm the one who orchestrated this whole thing. Remember that. Don't forget. But then the other side of it, so a great friend of mine, another one I tried to have on the podcast, he didn't want to talk, and I said, that's okay, I appreciate it. I'm going to share the story anyways. Classmate of mine, infantry guy, Ranger School graduate. He got out of the Army and became a full-time missionary. Wow. And I know I've told you this story before, but you may not have put two and two together. I always felt convicted because just like you, I grew up in the church. I remember the missionaries coming in, telling these amazing stories. And I'm like, man, I don't feel like I'm not good enough to be that guy. And I've never been great at foreign languages. And I've never felt a calling to go to some unreached people group and spread the good news. And before Race Across America, and you and I had this conversation, but I don't know if you necessarily had put them together yet. God stopped me. I was out riding my bike, and I was calling you for counsel about, putting the movie together, and honestly, just how do I handle this load? And God said, Caleb, your mission field is right here, what you're doing.
Right.
Your mission field isn't in a foreign land. It's the people to your left and your right that are going through the same thing that you have went through.
Yes.
Or maybe are going to. And you have to be there to reach down into the hole and say, hey, there's a ladder right here. And I'll tell you how to walk up, even though each rung feels like it's a knife blade. I'm right here. But I can't do the work for you, but I will show you how to do it. And this gentleman and him and another West Point buddy of mine, I'll never forget this. Round one Ranger School, and I was never successful. And I used to let that really eat at me. And why I'm getting emotional right now is not because I was not successful. It was because the selflessness of my two classmates, Fritz Steppen and Jimbo Pfizer, I had failed land nav. You can go ahead and make the lieutenant jokes about being lost. I failed land nav the first day.
I didn't know they worked for a living, so that's okay.
You're right. I'm not. I never said I was. The second point there was I passed the second day, but the guys who had passed the first day got extra sleep.
Yeah.
And obviously then didn't have to go walk miles and miles in the woods for a second time. So statistically, the fourth day, which is the end of the initial testing period, you have to do the 12-mile road march in 3 hours. Well, that's really easy to do in an isolated setting. But when you've been beat down and haven't slept and have done so many physical activities, you've lost count of the exercises. Good luck. Good luck to the point that they actually mark you with a red chem light.
Wow.
What's up, Chops? My barber just walked in. Hey, you want to show them where the food's at, Yon? So they marked me with a red chem light. And I was like, great. I'm now, I'm a marked man. Like, my time is limited. So we're moving out. And these two guys, one to the left and one to the right, they said, Caleb, if you don't finish, we don't finish. And I said, don't put that pressure on me, guys. Like, I can barely stand up straight right now. And they said, nope, we are going to stay with you this entire time. And we are putting our tabs on the line for you. Well, if I didn't finish that ruck march with maybe a minute or two to spare, I mean, that was probably the worst. And I was a decent foot marcher. But they held me up just like I am now turning and holding people up, saying, hey, I'm moving at your pace. But this finish line doesn't happen without you doing the work yourself. It is what it is. I'm here, but I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
And that is now my mission field. And man, I sure didn't mean to take over the conversation, but
that's good. You know what? Listen, man, people think they got to run off to a field somewhere or send their kids to Mexico. I'm like, look, all you got to do is walk out your door.
Right.
What is the area of it? And I'm not against mission. Listen, that's not a knock on missionaries, but it's easier to, oh boy, this is deep. It's easier to leave and go over there than to face yourself and what's right in front of you, that we need to fix ourselves and those around us that are hurting and broken and needing help on a daily basis that we run into at Starbucks or whatever your favorite coffee shop is, or wherever you like to grab a beer, or wherever you like to go eat, or wherever it is. There's people all around us. You don't need to run to a mission field. And I think it's very honorable people that do those things. Again, but I always say, you want to raise money and go overseas? Start at home. What is the area of influence that you're in now? Oh, I work in this, that's it. Your workplace, I promise you. You're not beating people over the head with the Bible, but you are, if God is in you, the living Christ is in you, you're representing him. You're an ambassador. And there should be something different about you. Quick story. I'm on a roll right now with this. It's in my book. I won't say the name of the celebrity, but there was a celebrity kid, and this celebrity is huge. And his son, I had to take his car keys away because of his drug problem. And he said, and so I was told not to even let the kid in the house. It was hard. And you know what? I was going through my divorce, Caleb, and I was not feeling godly. I wasn't feeling all holy. But the kid came in, and I took the kids and told him why, and he kind of sucked his head down, And he looked at me, and I put my hand on his shoulder, and I called him son. I said, son, you're going to be all right. You're going to get through this. And he looked at me, and he goes,
Please.
what is it about you? Every time I see you, there's a glow about you. You have a certain way. I always wonder, what is it about that John guy, that security guy? I was with my dad all the time. The other guys, yeah, but there's something different about him. And I joked, I said, oh, is it the hair or something, you know? And he laughed, and he's like, no, because most security guys, they look like Mr. Clean, you know? And I said, and he goes, no, no, no. He goes, what is it? Will you please tell me? Because I sometimes, he started crying. He goes, there's something even now talking. I feel like I just want to cry. And I said, do you really want to know? I said, I'm going to ask you one more time. Are you sure you want to know the truth? He said, yeah. And I said, I'm a broken man like you, but divorce, going through a divorce. I got my own things I'm fighting off daily. But what I have is Jesus Christ. And that's the only way I can get through it. And when I fail, I run to him, and he gives me another chance, times 1,000. And he just looked at me, and he was like, I said, do you want that? And he goes, yeah. And I prayed with him right there. Crazy story. Yeah, that was me being a missionary right there. Was I being a Bible thumper, cramming scripture down his throat, trying to tell him he's going to hell? You know, no, I just met him where he was at, Caleb.
That's, I think that's a perfect transition to, obviously you finally stopped ignoring the call. If it's, you know, the Jonah inside the whale, or Moses saying, let my people go. God, I can't speak well. What took you from ignorance and head in the sand to, hey, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to look myself in the mirror. I'm going to work on that and live what God called me to live.
You know, it's been a recurring thing, and it always happens in those moments. So I can't quite there's not like a defining, you know, this happened and boom, because I grew up a Christian and I know the truth. So what always would happen for me, and it continually keeps happening, is when you deplete yourself of you find yourself. So even though you're struggling in something and you help someone who's struggling, you find yourself. So, and that's what I had to come to realization, was in like a moment like I just explained. I looked for opportunities to do that even then. And still to this day, this is, I would probably say it was during that time period when I was working for that celebrity that I really started to walk back, and then meeting Deborah, and then Deborah really pushing me to, she would always say, you know what, I know you used to be a pastor, you used to be all, and I was having to, I'm not that anymore. She'd always say, no, you are, you still are. You don't have to have the title. So I want to give her credit, because she would push me in that area. And so what I did was I started to look, I said, okay, every day I would say, God, give me an opportunity to help someone, make myself, I call it availability. Careful what you ask for. Careful. Because it comes everywhere. From the gym to the streets to the craziest places, you'd be surprised. And God can use you is right there in that spot. Doesn't have to be in the church. Being in the church is good, but it doesn't have to be in the church. I'm going to get the card. So I don't think there was a defining, you know, again, I always say, I have so many different times when I feel like God met me and, but I feel like it, you know, it was during the divorce, because I was so wrecked and broken, started drinking again, real heavy. And it was kind of at that moment when I just started to start helping people again and using my faith, and you start working yourself out of it.
I would
that
agree.
Makes sense.
Yep.
And
Yes,
again,
it does.
using those opportunities, because I could tell you a plug for there's so many. I have so many stories I didn't even put in the book. I'm sitting here tormented because I told my wife, oh my God, there's so many stories I feel like I'm not even telling, but of just crazy miracles that God has done in my life where I've helped people, or and just doing that because he's done that for me. He's
Good.
always had his hand on me. He validates me, Caleb. And even when I'm not, even prophetically, I'll get these words. I'll be sitting with someone and he'll tell me something about somebody and I share it with them. And it's like each time when that happens, it like gives you fuel. It's like gas, like my tank gets filled up. Or I'll pray for, so like the other day I was at basketball practice and this lady comes up to me and she goes, you used to go to this one church. And I said, yeah. And she goes, you prayed for my husband and he had a shoulder injury. I said, I don't remember. I'm beyond. I don't remember. I go, oh, wow. Okay. And she goes, he went to the doctor and they ran an x-ray and it was completely healed. He never had to have the shoulder surgery. I said, you're kidding. She goes, no, you prayed for him. I didn't remember. But I'm like, that's the kind of stuff that just fuels me, Caleb. When God confirms you in these situations, see, that's what people don't realize. When you start getting confirmed in your calling, it helps you get through the pain and the struggle and everything else, because you're taking your attention off yourself and putting it on someone else, because our purpose isn't tied to us. Our purpose is tied to the solutions that we're called to solve in helping a broken humanity. Sorry, I'm like really going now. I'm getting deep.
No, this is good.
Oh, there goes hang on. Okay, do you hear me?
I did. No, that was
Okay.
That was phenomenal. So what my last question, because you got a basketball game to coach,
Yes.
if I'm not mistaken, is
Yep. And like
tell us what you're doing now with ISEG and where people and when people can get a hold of your book, The Faceless Man.
Thank you for that. Through this process, Caleb, it's almost a tag to that question. Was I founded this company based off of hurt, and my drive for Kentucky basketball led me to start this company. What was people don't understand, in Kentucky, basketball and football is everything. It's like,
It's a
and
religion.
so that it's like religion. And when Kentucky lost a game, I guess in Wisconsin, they were undefeated. They had Karl Anthony Towns, Devin Booker. I mean, they had the squad, bro. They were like 38-0. Then they lost in the Final Four. I was wrecked. And I remember you think, oh, that's so stupid. It's a basketball game. Well, where I'm from, I just grew up around it. Basketball was everything for me because we didn't have much. It was like, that was our entertainment. That was I can't explain it why it became such a thing, but when Kentucky lost, it was like a death in the family.
I understand that.
So say like it in other
As much as I love Army football,
yeah,
I went a long time with not beating Navy, and
yeah,
I mean,
I know, right?
I mean, obviously we just lost by 1 point
Oh my
last
God.
weekend, and
That's
I mean,
heartbreaking for you guys.
I went straight into a therapy session. No lie, I was hurting.
See,
I was
that's what I'm
hurting
saying.
bad.
But you know what? My company was birthed out of that, a pain. And I sat there and I said, because you always have these players leave, and there was all these stories, of players who go to the NBA and then they they get in trouble or whatnot,
Right.
and they don't make it, and I'm like, then what? So I could, at the time before this nil thing was going on, I kept saying I felt like that college basketball was pimping these kids, and now it's a wild, wild west with nil. It's insane. It's actually the
Right.
opposite end. But back then it was like these kids are broke. They didn't have any food to eat, and yet they're, the NCAA is making all this money off of them, and people are watching college
Right.
basketball like it's, you know what I mean? There was just no balance. So anyway, I'll try to speak now. phone battery, 10%. So let me just tell you this. So ISEG was formulated out of a pain. And I said, I want to create a company that, yes, we have a basketball reality show that we're producing in about Second Chance and helping guys get back on their feet that maybe were overlooked or were in the NBA and got cut or whatnot. It's all different spectrums and walks of life. We're putting that show together right now. However, something bigger, and I'll give JR credit because JR says, John David, we need to think bigger. We need to, he said, stop thinking about just Kentucky, think about global. How can we affect as many people as we can and change lives? And I was like, you know what? Let's start to help others. Let's build a company that goes out and does exactly that. Finds people that need a second chance, finds filmmakers, find authors, find people in the entertainment that need a second chance. And that's where we're assisting them to get their projects done. So everybody's like, oh, you guys are these producers. Not really. We're more like a producer's rep where we have a side where we're producing our own, but we also have the side. That's how we're hoping, we're working with you guys is to help you cross the finish line. Because I truly believe that it was like, if you help, God always told me, if you help enough people get to their dream and destiny, God will take care of you. So that's why my heart is. I want to help as many people as I can get their films funded, get distribution deals, get them on streaming services, find investors, So if you're an investor out there, we need you because I got I want to say, my goal is to have one of the biggest content catalogs, Caleb, out there. So people could come to us. We're working on a new website where they could come to our site and go, look at all this sports, boom, 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 military, but look at all these shows we could do. And they can pick and choose what projects they want to get involved in, what they want to support or maybe be an investor in and whatnot. So that's how ISEG came. It just grew and grew and grew when I met JR and he helped me think outside of the box because I was very basketball centric minded. That's the only
Right.
way really.
Well,
But
and I think the powerful thing here, and again, I know you need to take off to your next
not,
gig, and I appreciate this, is here's the lesson. I mean, we've been talking for probably 2 hours. Sometimes your biggest pain point is what God is calling you into.
yep.
Your pain point was, you were looking for a second chance, whatever that may be, the basketball, your passions, but almost the inequity, the inequality, the things that you go, God, why is this on my heart and why do I care about it so much? There's probably a reason why. God actually, I believe, as long as things line up with the word, it's not, unhealthy or dangerous. God gives us those desires for a reason.
1,000%.
And it's not so we can die to ourselves and become monks and deny our flesh and these things are good.
Yeah, absolutely. Your pain becomes your purpose.
That's the words I was looking for.
And I think God calls. Listen to this. I wrote this in my book. I said, God calls. Ready? You're going to be, God calls the unqualified. I call myself the unqualified to qualify the qualified. So, and I feel unqualified, but I look at someone else who's in a bad spot and I say, hey, come on, let me pull you up. And then I call you qualified. You are good enough. You can push through this.
Right.
So I'm like, that is my push. I'm like, because that is the thing, because we feel unqualified. But yet God will take a broken vessel like me or you and tell us to go pull people out of the gutter. Come on.
I can't think of a better way to end this, man. That's the whole, there's a whole word on that right there.
That's the Faceless Man. That's the book. I wish I had the link. It should be up on. They said 72 hours. It hadn't popped up yet, but it's gonna be. But here's what my publisher said to do.
For those listening and watching, once that's ready, I will put it in the comments.
Thank you.
And then again, here's what's gonna happen. Just so those who are watching live, I don't expect anybody but myself to be awake for 24 hours. So each one of these interviews is gonna get stripped and dropped, just like my other ones, John Davis will be out next Saturday. The next interview will be out the following Saturday. And so all of these are individually going to get captured, reproduced in bite-sized pieces during the week, and then the full thing on Saturday. So
Beautiful.
by that point, we will have the information. We will put it in the caption.
Thank you.
People can reach it from there. John, I just want to thank you. You've really helped me out in life, in brotherhood. I don't have many people that I would consider true friends, and you are
Same.
one of them. So
I feel the exact same about you, bro. I feel like I could not talk to you for a moment, and then I'd pick up the phone and talk to you, and I feel like I just talked to you yesterday.
I agree. I'm proud of you. Oh God, what do you say? You're gonna know what this means. Nobody else is gonna know what this means. I feel like I'm sitting here, and in no way is this negative, but you're watching me do my thing. Maybe there, not a bad jealousy, but kind of like you wish you were here, or like you're proud of me, but at the same time you're like, why couldn't I be doing this on this Saturday? Before we did the race across America, you had prayed for me, and I went to pray for you, and all I heard was God saying, "Ditto."
Come on.
You know what that means.
Yeah, I do.
John, you're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing in the time that it's supposed to happen.
Amen.
And I will leave it at that. So
Thank
I
you,
love
brother.
you. I
Love you too.
appreciate you. I hope you guys win today.
Thank you.
And I look forward to reading the book. But
You'll have a copy.
As I asked before, for those of us who are knuckle draggers, please make an audible.
I am. I'm putting an audio, and I'm going to be doing the audio too. So
because I like to listen to books doing stuff exactly like this.
I'm the same way. I'm
not a good hardback, paperback reader, but I do look forward to hearing the truth in your real life experience. So I love you, man.
Love you too, brother.
Be well. And
hey,
thank you.
Hey, you're a champion. You're my hero, man. Keep going, brother. Love you, bro.
Right back at you, man. Take care.
All right. Peace.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So just to give people a heads up where we're at, great friend of mine who actually started my idea on this. His name's Matthew Left Hand. I'm going to be interviewing him shortly. He's messaging me on Facebook right now, which means in about 5 to 10 seconds, he's going to get the live feed of what I just said. He's also coaching me on how to fix my video because he did this March, April timeframe, which is what gave me the idea to do so. So, see if I can figure out his recommended fix here real quick. Stream. Nope, it's already a set broadcast. So I can't fix what he's asking me to do. That's okay. Lesson learned. What's up, little man? Can you give me a high five? Don't act like you don't see me every 2 weeks when I get my hair cut. Come here. Come here, Knuckles. Come on. Come on. Yeah. My man. My man. All right. Jan, how you doing? Good. So the people that are here right now, again, for the YouTube audience, I've got my mechanic Jan right over here. Hands down the best trike mechanic and bike mechanic I've ever met. French born, American by citizenship, and the eagle with the Eiffel Tower and his last name in racing is his logo. So he's helping me out. What I'm going to do, so I'm going to stop this live for just a second. I'm going to relaunch it because I didn't realize I had it on a kid's setting. So if your kids are trying to find it on kids' YouTube or something, it's popping up, but it's not popping up for anybody else. So I'm not going to stop pedaling. When this pops back up on your side, right now I'm right at about 89 miles according to Zwift. And on the Garmin, 166 average power. I'm going to stop it. I'm going to relaunch it without the kids option so that people can find it. And then shortly thereafter, we're going to have another interview here with Matthew Left Hand. As soon as I get that dialed in. Okay. 89.1, going dark and coming back. Yes. All right. One simple thing is making it to where people can't find it. What's up, Chops? Thanks for coming. I'm doing great. I am doing great. Okay, we're back. We are back. The 100 miles is coming up shortly. And interview number 2. It's not letting me copy this. At no limits left. Oh. So start it here. Start it here. What's up, little man? So Matthew, oh good. Start new meeting.